Ex Libris, meaning from the books of or from the library of. Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I wanted to talk about Ex Libris, which are book plates. My first close encounter with Ex Libris was in college when I went to an art school, and they had an exhibition of some very beautiful book plates. And since then, I've had an interest in Ex Libris. So with this video, I wanted to talk about the Ex Libris that I have and a little bit of history of how it started and what they are. At its most basic, a book plate can be a slip of paper with someone's name on it, or at its most exquisite, it can be a literal work of art. The earliest known marks of ownership in books date back to Egypt in around 1400 BC. And the earliest known examples of printed book plates come from Germany in about the 15th century. For example, here is one by the artist Albrecht Dürer, one of my personal favorites, from the 16th century. Around this time, books were very precious and highly valued, so Ex Libris was a way to mark importance and ownership of a book. Many well-known artists took on Ex Libris, and some book collectors would commission personalized book plates for their own use. Eventually, societies of book plate collectors formed, first in England around 1890. Book plates can be anything from paper to stamps, and they can be etchings or woodcuts, watercolors, or drawings. And since about the 1950s, there has been a renewed interest in book plates, and lately, Ex Libris collectors aim to collect mini prints or small works of art from some of their favorite artists for a very small price because they are very small. So it's like a miniature personalized art collection. In college, when this Ex Libris exhibition was happening, I was actually taking printmaking classes at the time, and looking back now, I have no idea why I never made an Ex Libris of my own, because that would have been so awesome and smart of me, but instead I just did other things that followed the assignments. But there were some incredibly beautiful examples in this exhibit that inspired me to eventually own my own someday. So I recently looked through my own book collection to see if any already had any book plates in them. The earliest example I have is from this edition of Mansfield Park, illustrated by Hugh Thompson. Right on the very opening end papers is this example, and it says, Via Crucius, Via Lucius, Ex Libris, A.L. bound, Southampton. And I don't really know where it came from because I don't know what any of this means. And of course, I looked up the first line online, and it refers to the different stages of the resurrection of Christ, essentially. And I couldn't really find anything online about where this book plate came from. So if you know, definitely clue me in, because I want to know what the history of this one is. I also have this vintage edition of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, and I got this at a yard sale. And right on the inside is this book plate, which no one put their name on, but took the care to actually put in the book, so I'm not sure why it's not signed, but I think I'll just leave it like that. And then I also have a few examples of children's literature that has a book plate printed right on the page during publication. One series is the Series of Unfortunate Events, and I've only read the first book so far, but I have books 2 and 3, and they have a very beautiful book plate printed right on the page. And here's book 3. The only difference that I can tell between the two are the portrait of the evil man from the book series, whose name I can't recall. And from what I remember from the movie, this guy takes on different personas at different points during the story. So I'm guessing that each book will have a different portrait of him based on who he is pretending to be. And lastly, from my own collection, besides what I'm about to show you, is The Marvels by Brian Selznick. This is a beautifully illustrated book, And this one also has a beautiful Ex Libris printed right on the page that matches the front cover of the book. And I love this one a lot for the attention to detail and the intricacy of the design. So a couple years ago, I found a pack of Ex Libris that I really loved, and I just finally got around to applying them to some of my favorite books from my collection a couple months ago. So this is the design here. It's just a really lovely dark red color, and it says Ex Libris and has a space for the name and has a book with its pages flipping surrounded by some very lovely flowers. This design was made by Saturn Press, and I couldn't find these online anymore, but they might have some other designs. And each pack has 20 gummed book plates. So as I was saying earlier, some book plates are actually just stamps that are stamped on, some are printed on the pages during publication, and some are on sheets of paper that you adhere to the book itself. So with gummed book plates, all I had to do to apply them was use a wet paintbrush to activate the glue on the back side of the book plate and then place it onto the book and make sure it was nice and flat and not wrinkling. And then I had a lovely collection of book plated books. And I chose books that were very beautiful physical editions and some of my favorite books. I didn't put any book plates in paperbacks or worn out books that I might replace for a better edition. So I mostly just put them in books I knew I wanted to own and keep for a long time. For example, I believe I have book plates in the majority of the books right up here. And I also didn't put book plates in any of the vintage books that I own because I didn't want to lower their value, although I don't plan on selling them at any point. I just wanted to leave them in the condition that they were already in. I don't have any plans to join an Ex Libris society or start collecting and trading Ex Libris. I just like having them for my own personal collection. And I like to think that when I eventually give my books away, perhaps to a family member sometime in the future when I'm getting older, they will see that book plate in there and see my name and remember me fondly. And I kind of see it as a way of honoring that book and that book's importance to my own personal collection. If you have any book plates like this, definitely let me know. And if you're really into book plates and Ex Libris, let me know what your favorite kind is and who your favorite Ex Libris creators are. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.